Hi, my name is Arushi, and I'm excited to be presenting to you my project, Designing Biologging Tags to Reduce the Hydrodynamic Loading on Marine Life. So before I get into my project, I would like to thank Dr. Brahman for being a helpful advisor and for his support, my family for their guidance, and Mr. K who has provided resources to facilitate my project. I'd also like to extend my appreciation towards IJS and all the science fair judges for sponsoring the virtual regional science fair. So, what exactly is a biologging tag? Tags are devices which are fit on marine animals, which are capable of recording data on temporal, diving, location, migration patterns, and much more. Here you can see data that was collected by minke whales, where it shows a view of the whale's interaction with surface ice and its foraging behavior, all using depth, orientation, and jerk data. Additionally, advances in biologging technology are helping ecologists get an insight into climate change effects on animals, and they're also helping in taking direct action in ways such as conservation management policies. For example, this marine protected area was proposed after collecting the whale data that was shown before. The heightened energy requirement imparted on animals while moving due to tags can cause difficulties in respiration and a limited ability to forage for food and migrate. This heightened energy required upon applying the tag also causes faulty or inconclusive data to be relayed. Additionally, animals may be unable to care for young and therefore abandon their nests more often, leading to decreased birth rates. All these effects are more pronounced for endangered species that are commonly deployed with these tags, especially since changes in movement can affect traveling costs, and changes in hunting and foraging patterns can also affect birth rates and migration. So the tools that we are actually using to help them is actually harming them. What is leading to this heightened energy? Drag is a force that pulls the animal back as it flows through water, and the lift force causes the tag to pull off the animal. This leads to the objective of my project, to design a new tag shape that reduces the amount of lift and drag that a gray seal experiences as it moves through water. So, to make sure that the tag is still fully functional, there were a set of design criteria that had to be fulfilled. Firstly, the modern high-tech electronics tag from a commonly used model of tag called DTAG3 are being used for the design. So that means that it should have a foam front so that if the tag fell off the animal, it would rise to the surface in the right position. The design should also have two outward-facing hydrophones at the back. The tag will be glued on the animal, and it should be watertight and there should be no moving parts. This is because it would create complexity to recreate and adapt the electronics to. We are first going to look into the lift force. This is a GPS phone tag which is moving in water. Bernoulli's principle tells us that an increase in velocity means a decrease in pressure, and a decrease in velocity means an increase in pressure. There will be faster moving fluid at the top of the tag and therefore low pressure, and slow moving fluid at the bottom of the tag and therefore high pressure. The resultant upward force is the lift force. So the main source of drag in our case is through different kinds of boundary layers. When water particles hit a surface, some stick to it. This layer is known as the boundary layer. Boundary layers can start as laminar, which is steady and predictable flow, and transition to turbulent, or chaotic and unpredictable flow. In our case, we want to maintain laminar boundary layers. Boundary layers can separate because of abrupt changes in the geometry, where the flow deviates from the surface. Here is an example of flow separation on object, where this is the separation point. Flow separation also results in a wake behind the body, which causes a horizontal imbalance of pressure. This, coupled with low momentum, leads to lots of drag. To avoid complexity of performing field tests with animals, ANSYS academic software was used to make 3D models of the tags using computer-aided design, and a computational fluid dynamics simulation was run to test the new designs. CFD allows to simulate fluid flow conditions over a body. The simulations were set to solve the lift force, drag coefficient, and lift coefficient. So here is a basic overview of the CFD workflow. Start by creating CAD models of the tags. Then the boundary conditions will be set, such that the tag model will be in the center of this enclosure and the inlet and outlet will be defined. Then a mesh will be generated, which reduces the amount of work the solver has to do in order to simulate. This is what mine looked like. The next step is to put more details about the boundary conditions, such as the speed of the fluid entering the inlet, and select a model to capture the turbulence effects. Finally, the simulation is run, and if possible, to validate the results, the experimental data will be collected. Otherwise, the results will be obtained and analyzed. My starting model is the tag shown here. which is commonly used and we refer to as Model 0. After simulations were run, the results show high lift of 18 newtons and high drag of 18.1 newtons, high pressure differentials leading to large lift, high pressure at the front, and there is flow separation present, causing a vacuum region. This could be because of its square-like profile and the large disturbances present on the geometry. Based on these results, I designed this model as my first iteration, referred to as Model A. It has an elliptical nose at the front that converges slowly to maintain laminar boundary layers throughout. The tail also converges at a point at the end to make sure that instead of the boundary layers separating like this and creating a large wake, they would come together like this. Also, it is beneficial at high speeds because it would hit the nose but still have the rest of the smooth body to recover. After running the simulation, there were several improvements achieved. Firstly, drag was reduced by 39% and lift by 48% for Model 0. Also, Model A had almost no flow separation as predicted. However, I noticed that there was a large lift region at the front of the tag, but a region of low lift at the back of the tag. This could introduce aerobalance problems, where one half of the tag could be pulling more than the other, causing discomfort for its host. So to address this problem, sets of canards were added. These are curved planes that are commonly added to race cars at high angles for frontal lift reduction. This model we refer to as Model B. It would do this by directing flow upwards. The flow will go faster at the bottom of these planes, which creates pressure fields that counteract the lift force. The goal is to generate higher pressure at the top and low pressure at the bottom. So the canards were found to reduce lift by 8%. Pressure contour diagrams show that the canards were successful at lift reduction, as there were negative pressure areas generated at the bottom of the tag and higher at the top. However, it can be observed from these pressure contour diagrams that due to the canards directing flow upwards, there is flow separation occurring just after the center, which is causing a vacuum region at the back of the tag. This was not present on Model A. For Model C, dimples were added inspired after golf balls. Dimples take advantage of vortices that promote flow attachment and delay flow separation. Another iteration included tabs to make sure that the dimples would not reduce the high pressure areas that the canards had created. And the canards were made as cutouts to avoid the possibility of the previous canards getting entangled with vegetation near the animal. The hydrophones were also made as more streamlined shapes to reduce drag even further. So this actually had some very interesting results. The dimples and the new hydrophones did successfully reduce drag by 22%, but with the help of the tabs, it could reduce the lift by 68%. These turbulence contours show here vortices forming on the dimples due to the high turbulent kinetic energy created and traveling to the back of the tag. The wake region also decreased in size as the eddies fed into the wake that the canards in Model B had created. The major reduction in lift mentioned before could be because the vortices from the canards, tabs, and dimples are mutually interacting and are actually helping each other. Because of these positive results, this was my final design. So these are graphs of the three models graphed at three different speeds, 1, 3, and 5 meters per second. These are the average speeds at which the gray seal ascends, descends, and forages respectively. Compared to Model 0, the Model D achieved an 86% reduction in lift and a 56% reduction in drag at 5 meters per second. So this study sought to find a new tag design that reduces the drag and lift forces to reduce the chances of it possibly interfering with the animal's biomechanics. All the design criteria was met with a reduction in the net loading. To further analyze and refine the tag design, it can be simulated along with the seal body and tested at different orientations. Further, it can be tested with wind tunnels for a more thorough review. Thank you. I had lots of fun in learning with this project, and I hope you enjoyed it as well.